Hi, this is Donna Morales, actress, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew of the Keith Andrew Network.
Here is Ms. Morales. Welcome to the Keith Andrew Network.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Keith. Wonderful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. For people who want to know, you already introduced yourself in the beginning of the show. For subject I want to talk to you about is life growing up. Who influenced you to become a professional actor and singer?
Wow. Growing up, who influenced me? My aunt. My Aunt Thomasina. I spent a lot of time with her as my father's sister. And as a very young child, she brought me to Radio City Music Hall a lot. And she was at that time a very prominent secretary at Macy's for the executives at Macy's. So she used to get tickets to a lot of Broadway shows and Radio City Music Hall shows. And that was my very early influence.
It's funny you should bring it up. It's not funny, haha, but it's funny, but you should mention Macy's. Macy's is now actually closed nationwide. How do you feel about that? And do you think, well, I think eventually, maybe in a couple of years, it will come back in a smaller capacity. But how does Macy's impact your life if when they no longer exist?
Well, like everything else, you kind of roll with the punches. It would be sad to see it go because it was a major part of me growing up. Not to say my age, but if I say, there was always the Macy's versus Gimbals kind of rival, that'll give you a hint about how old I am. It's a sign of the times. It's kind of sad, but I'm sure that something will save it. Like everything else, always, there's always, that last minute hurrah. They always pull a rabbit out of a hat at the last minute. So I have faith.
That's true. And it is PG-13. It is uncensored. You do have the right to say and express anything and talk about anything you want because I wanted to make a good impression on you. And this is your time, so you can express yourself however you like.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, you may. Yeah, you opened up a can of worms there, Pandora's box. So be careful what you say.
Hey, I'm open for anything. I'm up from upstate New York, and the mall I'm near is the Galleria in Middletown, New York.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
And one of the three anchor stores that were there were Macy's, J.C. Penney, and Sears.
Yes.
And I mean, I guess FYE, what kind of maybe I like to consider it an anchor store, but I don't know. It may or may not be an anchor store. But with the anchor stores going out in the mall, it's really struggling. Well, let me ask you this way. The next question I want to ask you is, how has the pandemic impacted your life? And do you see life in a different point of view?
Well, the pandemic, I think how it impacted my life was it gave me time to be with myself, which was very different for me because I was used to having my family around and always being a big part of that and having people around me. And we couldn't do that. And so it gave me time to focus. It gave me time to cultivate my business, which is my acting career, and get myself out there and on Zoom because that's all we used was Zoom. It gave me time to cultivate myself and cultivate my business as an actress. And pre-pandemic, I was always working as an actress, and I was going into the city of New York. I was on the train because I'm from Long Island. So I was on that Long Island Railroad every week, going into the city, auditioning, taking, having vocal lessons, doing theater, and going into the city to also at city center to take some ballet classes or whatever classes or musical theater classes, whatever was available. So it impacted me because I couldn't do that anymore. Once the pandemic happened, everything kind of stopped. Broadway stopped. Everything stopped. And so we had to kind of acclimate to this new platform we now know as Zoom. And it was tough. But then I got to open new doors with new people and made new relationships with casting directors and other people who were like-minded in theater and TV and film. And I got signed by my manager. So I did a lot of work. So it impacted me in a good way. And it also impacted me it wasn't very, very negative. About the only negative part of it was that we were limited with what we could do. And that was the struggle. But I managed to make a movie during the pandemic, a short, and I managed to make new relationships in the industry. And I managed to get the name Donna Morales and this face out there.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, a lot of people always joked about, oh, how great it would be to work from home, stay at home, press a button. And now you kind of got what you wanted. You were kind of literally punched in the face. And because, with what, the shit hitting the fan. But now here on the KeithAndrewNetWork, it's very important for everyone to be vaccinated. When everyone gets vaccinated, now that doesn't mean that makes you invincible, but it will cut your risk of being hospitalized and hooked up to a life support machine.
Oh,
So
of
it's
course.
really
Yeah.
important to be vaccinated.
Oh,
Now,
of course.
you're still going to get sick, obviously, but you won't go to the extreme of what it would have been if you're not. Not to talk about politics, but here on the KeithAndrewNetWork, we talk about everything. But the reason I bring it up and answer the first question I was talking about the malls is now we're still in the pandemic, but it isn't as bad as it was. And you could say 5 years ago. It's amazing it's been that freaking long. Um, people are stores are struggling. They can't get people to go back to work. People don't want to work. They need to increase minimum wage. I mean, I used to work at Walmart, and it's like, oh, look at that! I'm now getting $15 an hour. You really can't live on $15 an hour. Minimum wage should be 20, 25 an hour. And if you're doing important work, then yes, you should be paid more. But stores are closing. You can't, people refuse to go back to work. They're removing cashiers. That's just one thing that drives me crazy. They're eliminating cashiers. They're adding more self-checkouts
I
or
know. I know.
more BS. But I don't know. When price inflation, that's another thing we can talk about in a little bit. But it's kind of like people need to get their shit together. It's like, look, get vaccinated, eat, drink healthy, and go back to work because we need to go and have people work again.
Of course. Of course. That's what we thrive on for our economy. We need to get our economy going again. I agree.
What is your opinion about it?
Oh, I agree. We need to get our economy going again. We need to get people to work. Get off your rear ends and get yourself to work. I often wonder, I'm like, and whenever I walk into a store and I see this, I don't like the self-checkouts. I hate the self-checkouts. I really do. I'm like, seriously, why don't they, start recruiting people, give people incentives to want to come back to work? Because quite frankly, the whole experience of shopping has changed and it's annoying. I hate shopping. I do more shopping on this than I do outside because I can't stand it. It's my whole experience. And what woman doesn't love to shop? But when you have to do, especially grocery shopping, I have to find what I need and I have to pack it into a cart. Then I have to unpack it to scan it myself. I'm tired. I don't want to do that. I want the experience. I want the service. So yes, but that will come. Like everything else, the tides will turn again. This is just a moment in time, and this too shall pass.
That's true. To answer your question about I hate self-checkouts too. I mean, look, if you have one or two items, you want to go bing, bang, boom, in and out. That's fine. But having like 30 items, like,
Yeah.
no, I don't work here.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the reasons for that, and then we can go to the next subject, is because the stockholders and the higher ups save more money on machines than actually hiring a cashier. So for me to work to pay me or save, I don't know, or another 50 cents on a machine to have it self checkout, the stockholders and the people and the higher ups would rather save a buck.
Oh, yeah, but again, it all boils down, you're right, it all boils down to economics and the sign of the times. And like I said, this too shall pass. It's just a moment in time.
That's true. Now, the next question I want to ask you, you've been an actor and a singer for a long time. For
Well,
people,
I've been in the arts for a very long time, since I'm a child.
no, absolutely.
Arts.
So for people with learning disabilities and disabilities who want to follow in your footsteps, what would your words of wisdom be?
Um, Believe in yourself. You're enough. You can do this. Anybody can do it. Doesn't matter whether you have a disability or not. Anybody can. Look at how many artists there are out there that are and have physical disabilities and are on stage or on screen. Hell, we have dancers in wheelchairs on stage in musicals. Anything's possible. It's just your mindset.
No, you are your own worst enemy.
Yes, you're your own limiting beliefs.
So you mentioned you were into theater. Going back to the very first question, what were some of your greatest achievements of being in the theater? And have you worked with people personally with disabilities?
Well, let's see. Have I worked with people personally who have disabilities?
Oh, besides me, obviously.
No, no, I'd have to say no. What I can recall anyway, but because I've got an old brain. But no, I have not. Um, Going back going back many, many, many years ago. Like I said, I started as a dancer as a child and a gymnast and cultivated that, as a teenager into larger things. So you didn't see many people with physical disabilities in the arts. It just wasn't something that you saw or heard of. Um, so, maybe different types of arts, but not the performing arts so much.
No, I agree with you. For me, every time I usually say this at the end, but I'm gonna actually part of it now. When I approach people and say, "Hey, my name's Keith Andrew, talk show host of Learning Disability," some of them are like, "Okay, that's interesting. You're a talk show host and you have a disability." Some are just assholes about it. Like, one person stands out and says, when I first got your message, I actually laughed at you because I thought this was some kind of joke. I thought you were a joke, but I've actually seen your work and doing this for 1,000 episodes. You're not. And I just blocked the person after I read it. It's like, I don't care if you apologize, but as soon as I showed the words, you're a joke, I was like, that's enough.
Well, again, that goes to speak to people's limiting beliefs
Right.
and own insecurities about working with people with disabilities. It makes them uncomfortable. It has nothing to do, it's has nothing to do with you. It's about them. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
That's true. You can't fix stupid, but you can numb it with a two
Oh,
by
you
four.
cannot fix stupid.
So the next one I want to talk to you about is social media. How has social media impacted your life, and has it given you opportunities that you never had before?
Yes, well, social media has impacted my life because it allowed me to reach out those platforms, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not a really big TikTok user, but Instagram and Facebook have allowed me to grow my brand larger. It allowed me to advertise when I've done a film or a commercial or any type of project, and allowed me to advertise who I was working with, who I worked with. So now I'm not only promoting myself, but I'm promoting the film. I'm promoting the producers, the directors, the writers. I'm promoting the film when it's going to be, when and where it's going to be premiered, and it got my face out there. And that's how people like yourself reached out to me. You reached out to me on Instagram. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram, on Facebook, private message me and say, hey, I saw you in such and such, or I looked at your IMDb. I like your work. I like your body of work. I think I have a role for you. Would you be interested? Small doors open larger doors.
That's true. I was always told I wasn't qualified because I fall under the spectrum because I can't read and write. And I'm not qualified to do things like you do. But I'm showing you with a disability, hey, I may learn at a slower pace, but look at what I have accomplished. For I can say this June will be 12 years. Thanks to you, I have interviewed 1,179 people. And yes, I don't have a degree. Some people say I have a degree in BS because I like talking out of my ass. But I'm showing you with the heart and passion, if you give me an opportunity, I will prove to you that I deserve it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And besides, if you go to college, all you're pretty much is, I mean, it's like this. Yes, it's nice to say you went to college. It doesn't matter where you went and you have a degree, but that doesn't mean you have the heart and passion to do what you do. There's a lot of people that have degrees and they just self-destruct. Do you
Exactly.
agree or disagree?
Well, no, I agree. I agree. Um, Again, it has to come from in here. It has to come from inside. Your passion has to come from inside. Your motivation has to come from yourself. You're your own best advocate, you know. But then again, there are people who are motivated by, by other creatives, other like-minded people, which is wonderful. But the first place it has to come from is from you.
No, I agree. The next one I want to ask you is what is your claim to fame and what are some of your career highlights?
Oh, my claim to fame. Well, I've done feature films. I have been on network TV. I've been on Law and Order a while back. I've it's recent as 2023. Um, I've been on FBI, large co-star role, Law and Order, co-star, um, way back when. And yeah, my claim to fame is also as a dancer. I was able to work with the Eglevsky Ballet many years ago. I was also able to work with Twyla Tharp and the Paul Taylor Dance Company. And that, as a young adult in her teens, late teens, is amazing. I went to basically a high school for performing arts. And when I graduated, I did internships. I was taken on my Twilight for an internship. I also had auditioned for an internship and performing roles on the Paul Taylor Dance Company, and I was taken on there. So those are some of my earlier claim to fames. My most recent claim to fames are basically my roles on TV, feature films, independent movies, and some commercials.
What were some of your favorite commercials that you were a part of?
Um, I was I was on team. I did a T-Mobile commercial. Yeah, I did a national T-Mobile commercial. That was kind of fun because it was all about me. And that was in 2021, early in 2021. Actually, it was in summer of 2021. And I also did one for light bulb fan, which is kind of fun too. I'm actually on the box of the light bulb fan, which was kind of cool. Let's see what else. I recently did one. I booked one this summer for an energy company, Constellation Energy. So that was a lot of fun. It was a surprise to me because my manager called me and said the casting director wants to book you. And she was, "Are you available?" I said yes, and I spent an overnight doing a wonderful commercial for Constellation Energy. So those are just a few.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at, I'm not texting anyone. I'm just looking at your IMDb. Usually I write them down on a card, but actually this one caught my interest. What was the experience about being on Manhattan South?
Manhattan South was a pilot. It unfortunately never got picked up. It was a pilot, and Chris Cardona, who is the producer and director, was my acting teacher, and he cast me. And it was pretty cool because I got to work with my colleagues who were also students as well. And being cast by my acting teacher showed a lot of confidence, showed that he had a lot of confidence in me to cast me. So it was pretty cool to be on set. And again, you're always learning. Every time you're on a set, you're always learning. So to be on a feature pilot and have I think one of my first film, actually it's not a film, TV pilots, to be able to shoot a TV pilot was a very good experience for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to find well, the War and Order that you mentioned. Uh,
It's not
huh?
it's not there. It was
Oh.
uncredited. Fortunately, it was uncredited. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but there's the FBI episode you could see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What can you tell us about the experience of working with the crew and for an experience? Let me ask you two questions in one. What was the experience about working with the crew, number one? And for someone who wants to be a part of FBI, what was the process that you had to take?
Okay. Well, it was a long process. Doesn't come easy. Getting those network co-stars and guest stars are not easy. Came through me working very hard with casting directors, doing workshops. It came through making wonderful relationships with those casting directors and having a talent team behind me that believes in me, my manager at Talent Express and my agent at Exclusive Artists. Um, it comes through them believing in me and submitting me, but it didn't come right away. I had to have, before FBI, if you see my IMDb, okay, before FBI, I had a lot of short films, a lot of indie films. I had to show and prove that I'm worthy of a shot auditioning for a network TV show. And then I also worked with the casting director in workshops. His name was Nick Picaro. And Nick Picaro was a casting director for Dick Wolf. He's now moved to Chicago Fire. So at the time, every time Nick was giving a workshop, I was there, and he gave me my shot. I booked the room with him. It's about booking the room, and he just kept giving me my shot and giving my shot until I booked it.
I want to ask you about the people that you work with. Now, I know I'm no actor by stretch of the imagination. Maybe one day, not holding my breath. If I did, I'd be the color of this shirt.
Mhm.
But for people who want to work with the networks and your agency and everyone who represents you, how would they go about it? Do they only do actors? Do they do podcasts or work with people with disabilities?
Are you talking about the agencies themselves, or are you talking about actors wanting?
Well, well, both. But let's talk about the agencies.
Yes. Well, agents, that's tricky. It's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a journey. It's a
As I
journey.
was told, as my friend who was a former ECW wrestler, he said, Keith, enjoy the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination.
It's a journey. It's taken me a while. I started, like I said, um, I jumped I just jumped in 2019. I jumped in wholeheartedly and I started auditioning for everything that I could audition for, even did background work. So I gained experience to be on network TV. I learned a lot doing background work, and got bumped up. You know, they give you bumps if they see you and they bump you up. Um, that's what happened to me. And I was able to gain experience being on several TV programs doing background work, such as Ray Donovan and Love Life and Power when it first came out. Several others I can't even recall. Um, and no, Crashing for Life was another one. So that gave me my on-set experience. So I had that behind me. That was in my tool belt. So then I cultivated that into feature films and indie films. Now I got the TV experience by seeing the workings of a set. And now I started booking indie films, shorts and features. And now I'm on a real set and I'm, again, cultivated more experience, got to know all different who the moving parts were there, you know, the DP and this, and, you know, the DP was versus the AD and the first AD and the director, first AD, the PA, getting to know all of those people and all those moving parts. Knowing how to work on the set with your co-stars. Very important. Knowing that it's not about you. It's about the film. It's about the project. It's not about you. You're there. You have one job, and that is to tell the story and tell it well.
No,
And that's
not to interrupt, I apologize.
yeah, tell the story. And so in order to get to where I was on CBS network, I needed to use all of those tools in my toolbox, plus meeting all of the acting coaches and having my team behind me. And when it comes to procuring an agent or a manager, you got to prove to them as well that you're ready, that you have all of those tools in your toolbox before they take you on. It's a trust game. It's like dating, you know, it's a matter of trust. You've got to prove to them. You've got to build a good relationship. You got to keep working. So it's a matter of positive communication and respect.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going overtime. I'm going to give you the extra 2 minutes. But the following is, if anyone who's a fan of WWE Monday Night Raw, now streaming on Netflix. So if you're a fan of WWE, make sure to check out WWE Monday Night Raw. But my last subject on question, how I wrap up the show, I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes, and how do you feel now?
Well, you've asked me several times, and the only reason I didn't respond or couldn't respond is because I was very busy. I was very busy, and I'm sorry if I seemed rude or just, you know, just I wasn't ignoring you. I just didn't have the time, and I didn't want to lead you on. I felt that I'm not going to communicate with this individual unless I have the time. And now I'm down in my Florida home. I'm not in my New York home, and I'm not watching my grandsons 2 days a week anymore. So that had a lot to do with it. You know, I was watching my twin grandsons, biggest role ever, twice a week. So that took up a lot of my time. And then when I wasn't, when I was done watching them, I'd go home and just sleep because they exhausted the heck out of me. So now that I'm in my Florida home for my snowbird time, I have the time to talk to you. And I'm glad that I was able to, we were able to work this out.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you recommend it to all your friends and all the people that you work with? Would you recommend the show?
Sure, if you reach out to them and they ask me, I will most definitely recommend the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. Our goal is to reach 500 to 1,000 views. So once we reach your goal, we will definitely do a part two. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege. This episode will be aired on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all social medias. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, leave questions for me and our guests. We would love to interact with you. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege. And until we meet again, I catch you later. Thank you and have a good night.
Mhm.
Supporting me and my message is all